Hey guys, it's Kyla at the MJC, and today we are going to talk about the part two being filed contested, fancy lawyer word for separately, with minor children. But as always, before I get started, I just want to remind you guys that nothing in this video is intended to be legal advice. It's a video, so I'm not able to analyze your specific situation. In this video, we are going to go through common reasons why people might file contested with minor children and some possible red flags, but I'm not able to analyze whether this is actually the right way for you to go forward, whether what you're proposing can be approved by a court, or whether what you're proposing is what's in your best interest. So if you have questions about any of that sort of stuff, or if you're not certain this is the right kind of paperwork, we definitely recommend getting some legal advice. You can get brief legal advice for free here in Milwaukee County through the Marquette Volunteer Legal Clinics. If you are not located in Milwaukee County, you can get in touch with your clerk of court to find out what resources are available in your area. All right, so this is just a brief introduction to the part two when you're going forward contested. And I always clarify that contested just means separately. I know some people say, well, maybe we might agree, but I just don't want to work with my ex, or they don't answer my phone calls or whatever. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you hate each other and you're fighting a lot. It just means going forward separately. So we're going to go through, most commonly why people would go forward contested and then what forms are needed. So looking at sort of why people go forward contested, the biggest reasons why you're going to be using the contested forms would be if you and your spouse disagree about property division, maintenance, and we could even include in here other things that you might disagree about, like child support, child placement, or custody arrangements. So if you disagree about any of those sorts of, if you disagree about any of those sorts of things, then you may find that that you're going to go forward contested, because if you don't agree, you'll submit your proposal for what you think should happen. The other person will hopefully submit their proposal, and then the court can go forward and determine which proposal they're going to go with, or maybe they're going to go with something that is a compromise between your two positions, or they may send you to mediation or any other kind of thing like that. So if you and your spouse do not agree about all those sorts of things, then you may be using the contested forms. Another reason you might be using the contested forms is if your spouse is unwilling or unable to fill out and sign forms. So I mentioned this a little bit, or I alluded to it a little bit in the first slide. We'll get people where they say, you know what, I think my ex would agree to all this. I'm just asking to keep my stuff and saying they should keep their stuff, and I'm proposing we do what we do with the kids already, so I think they'll agree. The issue is, to go forward jointly, you both need to fill out a financial disclosure, you both need to sign all the forms. And so even if you think what you're proposing is reasonable and that your ex either could or should agree to it, if they won't actually sign the forms and help you fill out the forms, you may still need to go forward contested, because sort of the way the court knows that they actually agree to all this is if they sign off. So if you think your spouse isn't going to cooperate with filling out forms, that can be another reason why people end up using the contested forms. A third reason that you may find yourself using the contested forms is if your spouse is unwilling or unable to attend your final divorce hearing. Again, typically for you to be able to go forward jointly or together, your spouse needs to be able to attend that hearing. There are a whole bunch of rules and things that we won't get into about whether they can appear by phone and when that would be appropriate and all that kind of stuff. So if that's something you have questions about, again, great option to get some legal advice. But if you know that your spouse probably will not come to that final hearing, that might be another reason you're using the contested forms. And then last but not least, just a note on using the with children forms. Obviously, if you and your spouse have minor children together, then you'll use the with children version of the forms. But one other situation that some people may not think of when you'll also be in the with children forms is if a female party, if a wife, or if there are two wives in the action, if it's a same-sex couple, then if one of the wives has a child that was born during the marriage, so we're not worried about children born before you got married, but a child born during your marriage, that is not the other spouse's, and for that child, paternity has not been established. If that is your situation, then the marital presumption likely applies in your situation, and so you may end up having to file the contested with forms. If that is your situation and you have questions, again, a great opportunity to get some legal advice, or come into the Milwaukee Justice Center to get some information about the right paperwork in your situation. All right, so I've given you guys sort of the general framework. If you hear all that and you say, yeah, the contested with, that's the right set of forms for me, then the forms that you'll actually be filling out, we've got listed here. And one thing I will let you know is this only lists the forms you need to fill out. So we have an additional video that is a checklist that will include some things you need to gather, like your proof of service and the parent education certificate. But these are the forms that you will need to fill out for this part 2. The request for pretrial document, the financial disclosure statement, and you can see I've included the form numbers next to all of these. So you can use those form numbers to try and help you find the documents if you don't have them already. A great place to find these documents is through our website, www.milwaukeejusticecenter.org. Or if you've already gotten a packet from the law library in your county, that can be another place to find them. The forms are also available on the WI Courts forms pages as well. So anyway, hopefully the form numbers help you find them. Do make sure you should always double check me, so go ahead and compare the form number to the name of the form. If there's a discrepancy there, then you'll want to check to make sure you've got the right form. All right, so anyway, you'll need the proposed marital settlement agreement. Make sure you have the proposed marital settlement, not the marital settlement. Those are 2 different forms, and that can be a little confusing. You'll do the proposed parenting plan. If somebody is going to receive maintenance, and I should include here maintenance or child support. And it made all my typing a little smaller. If you are going to have someone receive maintenance or child support, you'll use that interim financial summary. If nobody is getting maintenance or child support, or you're not proposing that anyone get maintenance or child support, you don't need to do the interim financial summary. You'll fill out the order for pretrial order to appear. And I should note, these 2 that I've got marked as an MKE, a Milwaukee form, for those of you filing in Milwaukee, those are required. If you're not filing in Milwaukee County, you may not need those forms. Those forms are done in Milwaukee, but other counties don't necessarily use those forms. So anyway, I'm going to presume everyone's filing in Milwaukee because that's sort of where we specialize in. So I assume most folks who are watching our videos file in Milwaukee, but if not, no problem. So you'll get that order for pretrial order to appear. You'll also need the declaration of non-military service, the divorce annulment worksheet. I should note you don't need the divorce annulment worksheet if you are not filing a divorce. So if you're filing a legal separation, you don't need this form. But if you're filing a divorce, you do. You'll also want the findings of fact and conclusions of law and judgment with minor children, the party's approval of the findings of fact and conclusions of law and judgment, and last but not least, if one of you is going to be changing your surname, like going back to your maiden name or any other name you've had in the past, you'll also want the abridgment regarding surname. All right, well, that is sort of an overview of all of the forms. This whole thread, this playlist, is going to go through filling out all of those forms. You can either watch them in order and get the whole thing, or if you just have specific questions about one form or one section of the forms, you can skip ahead to the area where you need help. All right, well, thank you for watching. I hope that it was helpful. If you do continue to have questions, during non-pandemic times, you can find us in room G9 of the Milwaukee County Courthouse. Until then, thank you all again for watching, and I hope that you all go out and represent yourselves well.